Beginner versus pro cinematic drone moves. What's the difference? What mistakes do beginners make when doing cinematic drone moves that are really obvious? And what quick and easy and simple things can you do that will instantly make your drone B-roll and drone sequences much more cinematic? Let's jump right in. Hey everyone, today I'm at this beautiful location, White Rocks Beach in Northern Ireland. And it's a typical location you might come as a first-time drone flyer to get video with your drone. But it's also an area where you might make some simple and easily avoidable mistakes that I see so often, that are so common, and I see time and time again, that set your sequences and B-roll apart from the professionals. So what's the difference? Well, in this video, I'm going to be making two sequences at this location. The first I'm going to be making as a beginner, and I'm going to be highlighting all the pitfalls and mistakes you might make as a beginner when you're out getting them sequences for the first time. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to make a second sequence in the exact same locations and the exact same shot types, but I'm going to employ the knowledge, creativity and experience a professional might have. Then at the end of the video, I'm going to edit both them sequences together with sound effects, color grading and music, and hopefully you'll be able to see and understand the differences between the beginner sequence and the professional sequence. Now the drone I'm using today is the DJI Mini 2, a lightweight, relatively affordable powerhouse of a drone that delivers epic video quality. As always, all gear I'm using in this video is linked down below, and with all that out of the way, let's jump into the tips. So for the first shot, let's start how a beginner might start. They have just come to the beach and they want a nice revealing shot that shows the beautiful location. So we've lined the shot up, beach on the left and water on the right, and now we want to start doing a push forward. All good so far, but this is where it starts to go wrong. I start to make sudden and jerky movements. These movements just aren't cinematic. This is a bit of a fail. So how can we make this much better? Well, the key is to keep your shots smooth and consistent. So let's try this shot again as a pro. Again, I have my drone up nice and high in the sky. I have the beach on the left and water on the right. And this time I'm going to push forward and slowly descend at the same time. But the key here is once I have started the move, I'm going to lock my fingers into place and not move them until the recording is done. This gives us one nice long motion and we have no jerky movements. Much better. If we look at these two clips side by side, you can see the one on the right looks so much more professional. A quick set of cinematic bars, sound effects, music and a color grade, and this would look epic. Let's keep the sequences for the end of the video. Shot 2. Doing too much in one shot. The excitement of flying a drone kicks in and you want to capture everything and it all ends up one chaotic mess. So let's see this in action. Beginner me has the drone back up in the air, starting off with another nice shot of the beach, but then I catch a cool arch to the side and I start to rotate round towards that. This movement isn't too bad, but one moment we're looking at the beach and next we're kind of turning around towards this arch. And then when I get to the arch, I completely change direction again and start flying backwards away from it in a sort of pullback move. Now each one of these moves by themselves would be okay, but when it's one long clip, it just looks confusing, chaotic, and not very cinematic. We could do better. Looking at this from a pro's eyes, we want to break it down into 3 distinct shots. So for shot 1, we're going to replicate a slider in the air. Starting with the beach and arch and frame, I'm going to slowly fly right. This is a nice revealing shot that shows our point of interest, the arch, and its location, the beach. For the second shot, we're going to start directly above the arch looking straight down. Then we're going to fly slowly away from it and gimbal up to face it. This is a slightly more advanced move, but looks epic. For our last shot, we're going to get more creative and start out with the drone behind the arch. Then safely and cautiously we're going to fly our drone through the center of the arch towards the water. Now if we put these 3 clips together with sound effects, color grading, music and cinematic bars, you get this super professional and much more cinematic shot. Shot 3. Not linking shots. Take beginner me for example. I've just got 2 more drone clips of this beach. The first is a slider right showcasing the beach. Not bad at all. But then it cuts to this shot of me flying along next to this cliff edge. Again, another nice shot, but this cut just wasn't cinematic at all. So let's try this again with our professional head on. For the first shot, I'm going to do a slider right showcasing the beach, but this time I'm going to slide past this rock until it takes up the entire frame. We want this, a nice big blurry mess. We're going to use this to transition into the second clip. And for this second clip, we want to start with the camera on another rock and slide her right again, the same direction as the first clip, past the rock to reveal another area off the beach. Now all we do is add a cut when the first clip hits the blurry mess, and start our second clip there, and that's it. A nice cinematic transition that looks much better. Again, comparing these two shots, and specifically looking at the cut between the two clips, you can see the one on the right is much more professional. Shot 4, always flying high. Another really common mistake I see beginners make is doing all their cinematic moves from a high perspective, and this can lead to all your shots looking similar. Let's look at this in practice. So we want a few clips of focal points at this beach for a sequence, and beginner me is going to get them all from a high perspective. So here we have the arch, a high aerial shot. Then we have this nice looking rocky area, again another high aerial cinematic move. And lastly we have this walkway above the beach. Again, another aerial shot. You can see these clips just all look the same, even though the point of interest changes each time. Looking at this with our professional head on, we want to find more cinematic and creative angles for each one of these locations and points of interest. So going back to the first location, we want to get more eye level in the arch as we fly towards it, and I'm going to gimbal up slightly to give us a sense of scale as we approach it. For the second point of interest, we want to get much lower and closer. We want to see the detail in the rocks. And for the last clip, we want to showcase the waviness of this path, and we're going to slide along next to it and get a much more creative angle. So you can see that with a little thought, we can get 3 very distinct and unique looking clips, rather than 3 that look very similar. Shot 5, automatic video settings. The last mistake I see beginners make when doing cinematic moves is leaving the camera on automatic. Now, the big issue with this is that it will change exposure while you're out recording. Let's take a look at this shot I'm getting as a beginner. I'm flying along the beach with the gimbal down, all looks great, but then as I gimbal towards the horizon, the exposure changes really visibly, and this just ruins the cinematic look of this otherwise great clip. So how do we avoid this? Well, we use manual settings. Let's try and shoot this again. This time I'm going to set my exposure for the horizon, so I know it's going to be right when I get there. Then I gimbal down, keeping the settings in manual, and do my cinematic move again. This time as I gimbal up towards the horizon, the exposure stays the same, and you don't get that shift in exposure. So I always advise using manual settings for many reasons, and this is one of them. So just how much difference do these tips make? Well, let's find out. Let's edit the sequences together with sound effects, color grading, cinematic bars, and music, and see the differences between the two. Let's start with the beginner sequence. Now, as you can see, for a beginner sequence, that's really pretty good. In fact, if you went out and recorded that, I think you'd be pretty happy. But with the tips I've outlined in this video, it can be instantly and easily so much better. Let's take a look at just how much better it could be with the professional sequence. So hopefully you can see when comparing them two sequences together that the tips I provided in this video make a massive difference. It's also worth pointing out that the correct sound effects, music and color grading in your sequence also makes a massive difference. But hopefully now you can look at them two sequences and understand just why one looks so much more professional than the other. Now, if you're into all things drones and you want to learn more tips, tricks and tutorials about how to get cinematic footage with your drone, then I have a ton of other content on my channel that I recommend you check out. I've put a few in the links down below. And if you've liked this video and you've learned something new, please give it the thumbs up and let me know by clicking the like button down below. And if you want to stick around and watch some more drone videos now, then here's a few I personally recommend. I'll not keep you back any further. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you just over there.